Hi, and welcome back to Roam Away From Home. I'm Taylor, and today we're going to talk about a great income opportunity that not a lot of full-timers really consider: renting out your home for income. We did this, and it actually helped start life on the road for us way faster than if we hadn't. By the time that we actually bought our RV and even started looking for an RV to the time we launched full-time life on the road was 8 weeks. And we were absolutely only able to do that because we rented our home instead of selling it. And you can also do this even if you aren't a full-time RV lifer, just for extra income. It's a great opportunity to capitalize on an asset that you already own. And we're gonna go into some tips on how to get started. When you rent your house, you can either do two types of renting: long-term rentals or short-term rentals. They're very different, and depending on your region, each one could be beneficial. For us, we live in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's a popular vacation spot, popular place for snowbirds, and so short-term rental actually allowed us to make significantly more money than long-term rent. Some benefits of long-term renting versus short-term renting. I'm gonna go into the top 3 benefits, and then I'll do short-term renting as well. So the top 3 benefits of long-term renting: one is less turnover. This is a huge benefit, and if you've ever been a short-term renter before, you know this. You have to turn over the property. So imagine when you're staying in an Airbnb, you actually expect it to be at a certain level of cleanliness with certain amenities and clean sheets and all of that. Doing that takes time and money, and so having long-term renters reduces this, which means that you don't have as many ancillary costs. The second is that a lot of HOAs and CC&Rs inhibit short-term renting. So they have rules and regulations that prevent you from doing short-term rentals. These can vary significantly depending on your neighborhood and your city, even county and state. So you have to look into those rules. Long-term renting is typically allowed regardless. Sometimes places have a minimum 6-month lease, 30-day lease, or 12-month lease. So look into those, and maybe long-term renting will have to be your only option. The third benefit is that you have consistent income and you don't have that fear that your place won't be rented. So with long-term renting, you have a cap on how much you can make realistically and have long-term leases. With short-term rentals, basically the sky's the limit. It's dependent on your area, but you can charge a significant amount more and make a lot more. So if you're doing full-time life on the road, this can actually be a main source of income for you. So the top 3 benefits of short-term rental: 1, like I just said, you can charge a lot more and make a lot more income. 2, if you don't like your tenant, they're only there for a short time, this is actually really beneficial. If you have a long-term tenant that stops making rent payments or trashes the house or has pets that you don't allow, it's going to be a lot harder to get rid of them and evict them. Whereas a short-term rental, it's contracted and it's going to only be that tiny amount of stay. The second benefit is that these platforms, Airbnb, have insurance policies and protections for you. So they take care of a lot of the headache of renting out. They help match you with other people and good tenants. You can filter tenants. You have all of the control of who you accept and decline, and that's a great part of short-term renting. And the third benefit is if you have a good system going, it becomes passive income that's a lot higher than long-term renting, but it truly does become passive. You just have to have the steps. And you meet a lot of great people doing short-term rentals, people doing fun, exciting things. We have been so lucky with our tenants, or guests on Airbnb is what they're called. We've been so lucky with our guests, and everyone that has come to our home treats it better than probably we do. And I'm gonna go into how you can Airbnb your home for rental and protect yourself from having bad guests. Now, when you're short-term renting, you can actually list on several platforms. These platforms are growing and growing because of the popularity of short-term rentals. Our favorite is Airbnb, and there are a few reasons why. 1, it's really easy to set up. It's super simple. They walk you through the process. They give you tips and pointers on how to benefit your listing so that you can reach more people. And they heavily incentivize new hosts, which is really great when you're trying to move quickly. The other reason is because once you're on Airbnb and you have a good reputation, you have good ratings, it's a lot easier to go to other platforms after that. VRBO, for example, they actually have a program where if you are already a 5-star host on Airbnb, they will set up your listing for you on VRBO. So starting with Airbnb, it's really good. They have great insurance policies compared to these other platforms, and truly, they take out the guesswork for you. If you're already totally sold on Airbnb and you don't even need to watch the rest of the video, just hit the link below when you sign up as a new host. It'll walk you through everything you need to do, and you'll get a $40 bonus after your first successful hosting. Okay, but let's get into how to protect yourself from bad guests, because this is probably the top concern for people starting out as new hosts. When you first sign up for Airbnb, and again, we have that link below, so just click on that right away and it'll take you to registering to be a host. You do not have to actually host guests, but if you're just interested in the process and everything and you want to get started, even if you're unsure if you're going to do it, just do the link and it walks you through. You can see a lot of the different requirements that you'll need to have. One of the best ways to protect yourself from a bad guest is to set up your house so that the price point weeds out a lot of people, and to set it up so that you have all the filters that you need to feel protected. Communication is probably the number one thing in terms of protecting yourself from a guest. Communicate with the guests a lot before they actually come to stay in your home. We usually ask a few simple questions before a guest stays with us. The first one is, what brings you to Scottsdale? So you don't have to say, why are you coming to my house? That doesn't really sound very friendly. So just say, what brings you to Scottsdale? Some responses to watch out for when you ask the question, what brings you to whatever city you're in? If they say something like, oh, we're super excited to celebrate a bachelor party. If you want a nice, quiet guest, that's not going to be the way to go about it. So keep an eye out or pay attention to if they're hinting at having parties or if they're hinting at a celebration of a lot of friends. The reason that this is important when you're doing full-time RV life is because you're not going to be in the area in order to help stop any issues. Another way to easily weed out guests is, as you're talking, if anything kind of triggers you and thinking like, oh, that's a weird response as you're communicating, pay attention to that. Trust your gut. I've been saying this about RV life forever. The longer you're in RV life, the more you learn how to trust your gut. The next way that I would weed out someone potentially is if they are trying to book for someone else. So if someone's saying, oh, I'm booking this for my sister's stay, or I'm booking this for my daughter's stay, or something like that, then that's a huge red flag. Airbnb policy covers who is booking and who is on the listing and who's actually registered with the stay. So if someone's booking for someone else, the insurance policy might not actually cover them. In Airbnb, there are settings that you can have in place so that people don't book your place if they have a bad reputation with staying in Airbnbs. So you can filter it. They must have a positive review from another host. That is a great filter. You should always have that on, especially because, like I said, you're doing this when you're not in the area. So you want to make sure that your guests are solid. Another thing you can do is require driver's license and identity verification. You absolutely want this to make sure that who is actually booking is the person staying. It kind of encompasses the last 2 points I talked about. And by communicating with them and having these setups, you're gonna have a lot better luck with finding good guests. Chances are you're gonna have great guests. Like I said, we've never had issues, but this just will help you feel more comfortable. You can also turn instant booking off. So Airbnb heavily emphasizes instant booking, and it is great because it promotes your listing and you're likely to get more guests through instant booking. However, if you're nervous about hosting guests and you're unsure if it's something that you really want to do, you could just turn off instant booking when you're starting so you have a chance to really talk to the people. I know a lot of Airbnb hosts that never do instant book and they're still very successful. In our listing, we currently have instant booking off, but we do normally turn it on, and we normally have it on and have great guests. Another way to really weed out people, guests that are just gonna party and trash your place, is by setting a minimum night stay to longer. So Airbnb emphasizes having the shortest night stay with a short turnover in between your guests. We actually do not do that. Our minimum stay is 30 days, and we require at least 3 days in between guests. This is really important because if someone's going to stay there for 30 days, it's likely because they're there for a reason. So they're visiting grandkids, like we're saying. Maybe they're working remotely in a different location because they got sick of wherever they are. But they're more there to live in the house and less to party in the house and take advantage of the neighborhood. One of the biggest reasons people are Airbnb-ing right now is to work remotely in a different location. So emphasize that you have these remote working assets. For example, high-speed internet, great cell service, a desk where people can work remotely. So having an office space, if you don't already have an office space in your house, try to convert one of the bedrooms to be an office bedroom space. This is a huge benefit. Once we changed our listing to have this language about working remotely, we got 15 requests in 72 hours for long-term stays. So this is really key to making sure that you have a successful Airbnb listing. It's also really nice to have people that have similar interests to you, because you'll be able to really advise them on hot places to go and places they'll really like. So in our listing, we emphasize golf. It's Scottsdale, Arizona. Golf is a given, but Mike is a huge golfer. So we emphasize that we're willing to put together a golf recommendation plan for them. And that actually has brought a lot of golfers to our listing as well. So emphasize the things that you like, and then you'll get guests that like the same things you do, and you'll have a great little relationship with them. Our current guests are so awesome. We have so much in common, and they're just probably the sweetest people ever, and they've even helped us with some of the mail issues that we've had and stuff like that. As you're preparing your listing and going through everything, another way to make sure that you have top-notch guests is to have a top-notch listing. It really is on you to make sure that they have a great experience. So go above and beyond. For example, one of the things that we have in our house is an in case you forgot bin. So it's a bin underneath the sink, and it has anything that anyone might forget when they're staying at an Airbnb. Hairbrushes, feminine hygiene products, bath bombs, face masks, lotion, razors, basically anything that you've been like, I forgot, flip-flops, sunglasses, and hair ties. I mean, we have it all. And just doing those little touches ensures that you're gonna get great reviews from your guests, because the only way to maintain good guests is to have good ratings. And if you don't have 5-star ratings, you're not gonna get the top quality guests. So it's on you to make sure that they have a good experience. Especially if you're doing 30-day minimum listings, they're gonna be there a long time. So you're gonna be in contact with them constantly. One of the top things that is a toss-up of people that actually have it in their home, but is actually pretty much a requirement if you're gonna be short-term renting, is to make sure that you have a TV with cable access. We actually do not have cable, we have Hulu Live TV. YouTube is another option for this. As you can see, it started raining, but I'm gonna keep going because it feels actually kind of nice, but it is raining here. I mean, it's the Pacific Northwest. What do you expect when you're filming outside? I'm gonna talk about how to get into how to price your listing, because that is the most critical thing for making income on the road. So when you price your listing, actually pause. I'm gonna put my hood up because it's raining too hard. All right, the hood's going up because it's raining a little too hard. It's getting in my eyes. Okay, we're good to keep going. Of course, you're here to see how you can actually make income on Airbnb listings. And the only way to do that is to price it right. A lot of first-time Airbnb hosts undervalue what their home is worth. So when you're listing, there are a few things you need to do. Look at prices in your area to get a comparison of where to start. Airbnb typically advises you to go much lower than you actually should be. As you're looking through these prices, keep in mind, are these homes as big as yours? Do they have as many amenities as yours? And especially keep in mind if they are full-time Airbnb, like a short-term rental that turns over frequently. Because the shorter your turnaround, so if you do minimum 2-night stay, then you're gonna be able to charge a lot more per night. When we were doing minimum 2-night stays, we were charging close to $400 a night. Once we switched to 30-night minimum stays, we started charging $100 a night. That's a huge difference. And you're thinking, well, why would you go down that far? Well, the truth is we want stable income. We want to be financially stable while we're on the road. And to have a 2-night turnover, that's a lot of work. For us, it wasn't worth it. It might be worth it for you, but I promise you it's a lot more work than you might think it is before you go in. So if you're doing a longer stay, you're gonna want a lower price point, but do not sell yourself short. Know your worth and know your home's value. If your home is in a great location, you do have more wiggle room. You can raise those rates a little bit. When you're determining the price point, absolutely make sure it covers all of these expenses. All right, you kind of know the basics now, and we're gonna put a link to our blog on how to Airbnb for additional income so that you can also see our listing and that you have just a checklist, an easy checklist of things to do and be aware of when you're starting your listing. So you can check that out below too. You can sign up to be a host and you can check out that blog. One of the other things that's really important to consider is kind of easing your way into becoming an Airbnb host. I recommend staying in the area for your first couple of stays. Once you've done that, then you're pretty good to go. You'll be making solid income. If you do these longer minimum night stays, you'll have consistent income. And it frees you up to do a lot more and start life on the road right away. Or whatever else you want to do. We actually, before life on the road, we used it to pay for our vacation, so you could do that too. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Let us know if you're actually really into this and you're going to be starting it. Subscribe for more RV life and remote income tips. And it's really wet out here. Ah! Maybe I should have used the umbrella.
Wow. It's a little wet out here.
It came down so much higher than I thought.
This shirt was extra small, and now look at it.
Thanks, guys.